Hey, this is Didi Sanchez, Scrappy Gamer DDS, and this is the second session of the Well Wishes and Wine card class. This session focuses on die cuts and punches, and this is one of the two card designs you'll be making in the class. This one is the card we'll be focusing on today, and basically we're using primarily just die cuts or framelits, and we're creating this card that has a little bit of lift to it and a neat little element, which is a window right there. You see that? Hello. And so you'll be able to use some dies, use the Big Shot, do some stamping, create this window, and it can, again, it's a full type card and it can pretty much be for any kind of sentiment. We're using a specific set, so I'm going to use everything from the set. So let me go over the supplies. Now, what we'll need is one more thing. There we go. Almost forgot this. So in the class, you're going to get, in terms of supplies, enough to make 4 cards. Again, if you know anything about my philosophy and my strategy when I card make, I want to minimize the waste. Maximize the output, minimize the waste. So, you will be receiving, or we will be working with, 2 of the 110 card pound bases, which we'll cut in half into the desired size. I already have one cut, so we won't be doing that in this video, but you'll do that in class. Then you'll be receiving layering paper. So I got one that was very close. It's pretty much any colors that you like. So I will, in the class, be having some variations of autumny colors, and you'll take one that will be the background of like where the brown is, that layer. So I'm going to use this crafty color. And then you are going to pick 4 other colors. So we'll pick the 4 colors, and then you're going to get half of a sheet. Now, that means that technically with a full sheet, you should be able to make 8 cards easily. But for the class, we're going to cut it down to 4 because we're not going to be there all night. And so if you learn the technique and you just want to keep doing it, you can continue making the four cards in the class. You'll have the supplies that you need. You can cut everything and maybe paste everything and take it home, whatever you choose. And then you also need one other thing, which is a piece of acetate. Stamping Up sells the window sheets, but basically this is just a regular old transparency film that you would write on in the classrooms, and nothing too fancy about it. We'll have one sheet because you will be stamping on this, and it will take a couple of goes. So you're gonna need, you can get 8, but I know that you're gonna need this to be able to pick out your best 4. So we're gonna have one sheet of acetate. So those are the paper supplies. What we're using in terms of the supplies that are dyes and inks and everything are the following. We're gonna use a vintage leaves set, and it has these 6 images, and pretty much this is empty because we're using every single image, and they'll be mounted to blocks in the class. Okay, we're also going to use the leaflets framelits. Let's say that 3 times fast, and they coordinate with the dies, with the stamps. So when you have a die that looks like this, if you can see it, this guy coordinates right over that. Look at that, perfect. Okay, so we're going to talk about the process of using a stamp and a die, and what you normally have done in the past versus what we're going to do in the class, which may seem different, may seem like odd, but it is for a reason. We also like to be, maximize output, minimize waste, and also try to be as quick as possible. So we have all the dies for all of those, and we'll be taking those out when we're ready. And then we will need to do some stamping on the leaves. So I just picked out a blackberry, where is it? Blackberry Bliss. I was looking at my colors. They can take any color you want, and I thought that this darkish purple would look good on as the vining of each of these. But you can definitely use different color pads for the cards in the class. You'll have access to everything that you need. And then we'll need a StazOn. And I've got the Timber Brown StazOn. And so what StazOn is that it's a permanent solvent ink. And when you have a slick surface like acetate, you need to have StazOn so that it will actually dry and not rub off. You also use StazOn whenever you want to do some coloring with, you know, any kind of alcohol markers or anything, because it doesn't react with the markers, the Stampin' Up, because it doesn't react with the water in the dye base. Okay, I'm rambling, so let's get to this. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to stamp the leaf image first. So to create the window, it's a whole process, but we need to stamp this because StazOn does take a bit of time to dry. So you're going to see that, we do have stamping on that acetate. Okay, so the first thing in the class is to do that. So we're going to take our acetate sheets, and we're going to take the leaf that has the widest opening in space, and that's this one here. Okay, it's already mounted to the block, and what we're going to do is we're going to stamp this on to the acetate. Okay. Now the stamp is larger than the pad, so it is recommended that you ink your stamps this way so that you can make sure that you're covering the full image. Okay, we want to tap, we don't want to smush, we want to tap, and we want to make sure that it gets in there nice. Now once that's inked up, pick a spot not too close to the corner. Now what's going to happen is that when you place it down, it's going to want to move because it's slick. So what you have to do is place it down almost like a drop, and then once it's down, then you can put a little pressure on it. So it's like, get close, drop it, put some pressure on the entire stamp. Okay, and then lift straight up. Okay, so let's look at this. This is not, let me get some white paper so you can see. It's not the best stamped image, but it could be usable. It's fine. I think I didn't have enough ink on the StazOn pad, on the die, or I spoke a little too long. So let's do this again and make it a little quicker. So we're going to stamp, try to get 4 decent ones. So stamp this up well, drop, press, don't move, don't twist, press the whole image. Let's see. Woo! Okay. So of course I would mess this up, but that's fine, eh? So look here. Much better. Less yapping. Okay, we do have a little bit of a snafu there, but you'll see that it is already starting to dry, but we're going to cut this out. We're going to have this in a window, so that's okay. But like I said, I gave you enough that we can actually just stamp a few more and get the 4 that we need. So that's what we're going to do right now. Okay, let's see if I can get one more for the video. See, that moved. I don't know if you noticed it. I felt it. And when it moves, let's show. That's the first one. That's the second one. There's a little bit of movement. You can see the swishiness there. So I think I'm going to try one more. And hopefully it'll be perfect. I could use any of those because we are going to cover them with the other stamps. With the other stamped leaves. But it's, you know, you want the best images possible. So you have to decide when is your limit to when something is workable, usable, or not. Drop, press down, give it a second for the ink to get to the acetate, lift up. Okay, much better. And I'm just going to fill the sheet. Okay, and I'm going to drop it there. That moved, but that's okay. Press down, lift up. That's still a good image to use. And I'm going to do another one. So if you were doing a card, you probably would need 2 sheets of acetate in order to make the A card, so that you have that wiggle room of maybe 2 of them not working out so well and stuff. Okay, so that looks good. So we are done, and what we have to do is now put that in front of us and let that dry. And now we go on to all of the die cutting and some additional stamping. Okay, so I'm going to use this again later, so I just want to wipe off with the wipey. Okay, StazOn has a cleaner from Stampin' Up, but we were advised that it's not really the best thing for our photopolymers. So photopolymers are going to stain. That's just how they are. So it's nothing to fret. Okay, so now let's make sure. If you're not sure if it's clean, just stamp it a few times on a sheet of paper to see how it comes out. Alright, so we have our card bases. You'll cut your card bases. So I need to cut a card layer. Okay, so you'll cut the card bases. So I would probably do all this stamping first and advise that, and then cut your card bases while that's drying and cut your fronts. So we're doing 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So again, we're going to go down 1 to 4. Again, 4. And then we want 5 1/2, so we want 5 1/4. 5 1/4, 5 1/4, and 5 1/4. 5 1/4. Okay, perfect. And we will do it again. Even though in this video I'm only going to show you one card to show you how to do it, but I will probably be making the rest of them. Okay, so once that's cut, you'll have the 4 panels. So I'll be able to do 4 cards, but we're only going to work with one. So I'm going to put that to the side for a minute with the base. These I'm going to put to the side for later. And now we're going to talk about using the dies. So Stampin' Up's dies, framelets, any framelets. You don't have to have these. You can have another coordinating set. But basically, we'll cut through a couple of sheets of paper. I don't believe that they will cut through 4, so we'll have to run this through twice. Now, here's the thing. Most of the time, people will stamp their image and then cut their shape. And that's usually what we're doing. We're going to be doing all of these guys here. So my thing is that we will need to cut them out first. And so we can do this process with this particular die set and this stamp set because of the fact that they're photopolymers. So you can see through the image where you are so that you can line it up with the piece that's already been cut. So we're actually doing it backwards because we can try cutting them all, we can stamp them all and then run this through the machine 1, 2, 3 and then a 5th time for the card base. Or we can eliminate 2 of those and then we can be stamping. Okay, and for the classes purposes that would be great because people can just run their things through, and as other people are working on the dies, we can be stamping. And it's another thing to be able to experience cutting first and then stamping. So what we're going to do is prepare the card first. So we'll need the one that matches our acetate leaf. Okay, and what we will need is our Big Shot or a Big Kick machine, and if we have the magnetic platform we could use that as well, but since we're not doing the stamping first and then it's just fine. So now what we know is going to happen is that this layer is going to go right here on top of here. And then we need a window for our leaf. So we want to cut this, and we don't want this to move and whatever. So I would take a tiny little bit of adhesive. I mean microscopic, okay? Like microscopic, right? Position my layer where it should be. So I got the even and the everything. Find that little booger of glue, right? There we go. It's right here. And then my leaf, I want to figure out where I want to position it. So we're going to lay the card base down now that that's done there. And we're going to lay our leaf where we want it to go. Okay? So we're going to cut through 2 layers. We're cutting through the card base and we're cutting through the cardstock layer piece. We're not adhering the layer piece because we need to put the acetate between the 2. So now we run this one through. So we're going to do this one, if you're doing the 4 cards 4 times. So think about how many times we're running this big shot through. And we have many people in the class. We're going to need, we have 2 big shots. Some could be doing leaves while other people are doing this. And now we're going to have our leaf whole. Okay? Now it's separated because I need to put the acetate between it. We also now have 2 leaves here. If the booger comes off and we didn't put it too big, we actually have 2 leaves. We can use them for another project. We could maybe use them for this project. You can decide what you want to do with this, or you can just toss them on the side and I'll store them for something later. Anyway, this is die cut. Now we're going to do this again. So with the half sheets, what I want to do, I'm going to do 2. I don't believe it'll do 4. Let's try. No, it's not going to do 4. I don't want to kill the machine. We're going to do 2. We're going to do 2 pages at a time. So we're positioned this here, and then we're going to lay out our 6 dies. And we're going to try to save space as much as we can and place these bad boys down so that if possible we will have some space at the bottom. Okay. Now before I put the last one, there's a little ridge and there's a flat side. The ridge has to face downward. Okay. So now I will have all of this as scrap that I won't be using, but I will be able to use a strip of it to place my sentiments. So instead of on the card, the original card, I have the white sentiment here. We can place one of the colors as where the sentiment will be, so that it's not so stark in contrast. If you want the white, we'll have white scraps and we can definitely put that. Not a problem. Put our plate down, place it down, and then we're going to run it through. The cracking is normal because that's what it does when it presses up against the glass plates, plastic plates. Okay? So we've done that. We've got all of our dies. Take them out of the way. Okay. And then we have all of our little leaf pieces, and they just fall right out easily. Okay. So we'll leave this to figure out whether we're going to do the sentiment on that. We'll put that on the side, and then we will run this through one more time, and we'll do the same thing. We'll position it again so that we can maximize paper and always have some scraps in case we want to add a different type of embellishment or something. And I don't think I'm positioning it the same exact way, but it's the same general placement. And then we're going to put the plate back on, and then we're going to run it through. So in the class you will run your leaves through, and then pass on the machine to the next person, and you will start working on the next phase. Okay, so let's get all these guys out. And so we're done with the dies, and we can throw them all back into our envelope. Okay. We'll pass it on to the next person. Okay. Alright, awesome, awesome! And then again, we just go like that. Our dies, let the leaves just fall right out. And we will worry about the sentiments later. Okay, so sharing the die is going to be, could be time consuming, and hopefully it won't be that frustrating. But once you have this out, you're then going to be like, well, now I gotta share my leaves. So but you can stamp in different colors, so you can stamp all of the certain kind first, and then the next kind, and the next kind, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. So what I'm doing is making clusters. So I do not want to put all of the same ones with the same colors. I want some variety, so I'm just mixing and matching. So I put the maple leaves down. And then I will put the next leaf that I feel goes, and I'm just making sure that the colors change up. Okay. Now we're gonna have to double up on some, so at this point I think I'm gonna double up with that one, and I think I'm gonna do that consistently through all of them, and then I will have to double up again. So I think that I will double up with the little guy, the yellow, with this one here, and then that one, and this one, and then I will have a pop of orange there. What's not here? A pop of burgundy here, a pop of yellow there, and a pop of green. So you play with that. Okay, now what we will be doing before you do this is to stamp everything with the ink colors that you want to stamp them with. So I just wanted to make a cluster, and then now I'm going to show you the process of stamping. But in the class I'd be like, okay, stamp everything and then put your clusters together once everything's been stamping, so then you can lay them out this way. So this would be a card, and it would already be stamped. Okay, and this would be another card, and this would be the third card. Okay, so we're going to work on this as a card. So this is what we're going to be talking about. You are going to stamp with an accent color. You can pick different ones. I probably will have different ones that go tone on tone, but for this video I'm just going to use the same one to just have you see the process. Okay, so what we're going to do is to ink up the different stamps. So this one goes with this die, right? And notice that I can lay it on top. Do you see the burgundy behind the leaf? No, if I turn it over you can see that we can line it up. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to line them up and stamp. Okay? I'm just looking for a piece of scrap paper so we can see it better. Okay? So my leaf is here. I'm going to go into my Blackberry Bliss, and then I'm going to have to go above it. So of course this is going to be much easier in class because you'll be right above it. But you're going to stamp, and look, I'm pretty spot on. I may be slightly off, but we're going to stamp, and then when it comes off on this one, you get a really pretty tone on tone. Even if you have a little bit more of a colored edge that's not like the image, it doesn't matter. It still is really beautiful. So I'm going to put that to the side. And we're going to go on to the next stamp. So I'm going to grab, move them out the way. So you're going to do this whole process. So I am going to do all of these right now. Okay, so we got this guy. We're going to go into here. Again, I'm pretty much on, and then I can just peel it off, and even though I'm off, it's still very beautiful. It's the other one. Done. Take this guy. I'm a little bit more off than probably you guys would be because I'm looking at it from over here, trying to not put my head into the camera shot. So I'll just bring it up a closer so you can see. Okay. And then our other one here. Okay. And then I'm going to peel that off. Look at that. So nice. I really, really, really love this stamp set combination. I mean, Thanksgiving and autumn for years to come, it's going to be awesome. And then my final maple leaf. I believe this is a maple leaf. Okay. Okay. And there we go. Okay. So you'll be stamping all of these. Everybody's going to be stamping different leaves, different times. You just stamp it forward, pass the stamp on, and then you will have all your leaves done. So we'll wait a few minutes so that way we know that the ink is dry. It dries super quick, but just because we don't want any kind of issue, so we're gonna wait until that dries a little bit better, and then I'm cleaning up the stamps because I just have to. So then we're going to tackle the acetate, because now enough time has passed that your leaves that were stamped in the StazOn, because StazOn does take a little bit of time to dry, not especially on something slick, but that's the intention, that it's used for slick surfaces. And then I'm just putting them to the side. Sorry. And getting this ink off. It's very rich ink here and stuff. I may have to stop the video. I really try to do the videos in real time because you can really see what it's like, but sometimes real time is just too long, and I know that we don't really need to see me cleaning stamp sets. But if you're stamping along with this might be giving you the time to do that stamping as I yap away, right? Okay, this is the last stamp. Okay. So, I'm happy with the cleanliness of my stamps right now, and I feel like we can go on. But I'm going to take one more wipey just to make sure, because my fingers with this Blackberry Bliss are a hard mess. So, not good. Not good at all. That means that pad was like super juicy. That's a good thing, but it's not a good thing for my hands right now. Let me just dry them off, and we'll continue with taking the acetate. So now we will need our glue tape runner, pair of scissors, and we will need a bone folder or a pen, or our fingers can probably do the trick as well. And I'll show you what we need the bone folder for. It's on the cheat sheet, and I forgot to mention it in the beginning of the class. So we just need to pick any one of these, and I'm going to just show you that I'm going to use this one here that seems to have a little bit of a missing spot right there, and all I want to do is cut out around him. It doesn't have to be any particular shape. You don't want to be too close to him, but we will probably wind up trimming. Okay, so that's what we want to do here. Now, what I want to do is to bring this guy in, is that this is going to get sandwiched between the two. So I need to attach it to this first, and I'm just going to take some tape runner, and I'm going to just add a few little pieces, a few little spots around my opening. And I'm going to place the die. So let me see if I can show you with this backing. I want to put the image down so that I can see it through the hole, through the die cut, right? And then place a little pressure on those glue spots. And now my acetate window is in there with my leaf design. And I do have some excess on the edges, so I just want to go back there and just cut off any acetate that may be sticking out from the edges. Simple as that. Okay? Perfect. Get that out the way because it'll be in the way. Then I need to just place this guy on my card base. Now, because I have acetate, I just want to make sure I have a good amount of glue on there. And I'm going to now lift this up, and I'm going to use the window as the one I'm going to line up. Because remember, we cut them together so they will fit together perfectly. So there we go. There is our flat leaf. Very nice. A little touch, special touch on this card about dies. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start to layer our leaves. But before we layer, we're just going to give them a little lift. And we're just going to run them across the bone folder and add a little curve to the leaves. And we can do it from the center, outwards. We can do it from top to bottom, whichever. Just a little bit on all of them. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we're going to be positioning the leaves on the card, and so you just start to stack them into a pleasing arrangement. Okay. And then, so what I'm doing is I want to place, I'll do it again. This is how I've done it for the cards. And get some glue dots. Okay. There you go. And I'm going to place the maple leaf down first where I think I want it, and then I'm going to take the long guy and I'm just going to put a dot or so at the end of his branch so that he could be touching. See how he touches? So now they're connected together. Then I want to take this triangular one, and again right by where his dot is, his branches, I'm just going to place, and now that's going to be connected together. Then the one that coordinates with the maple leaf, I'm going to just add a glue dot onto the stem, because I'm going to stick him there. Okay, and I'm not affixed it yet because I can still move them around. I'm just trying to get a sense. The orange one is now going to cover that stem right there. So it adds a little bit more of that lightness, right? And then this little yellow one is going to cover and tuck the stem under and cover all the stems. Watch, I'll show you that really quickly. Okay, so we got a mess of stems coming out of this. I'm just going to tuck it back behind, and I'm going to place it over all the stems. So now all my leaves are clustered together, and if I have to zhuzh or bend them a little bit more, I can do that with my fingers. I can turn this over a little bit. Now what I want to do is I want to place this on my card. I don't want the card to have too much hanging out, so I'm going to turn it. I can still move these guys a little bit as I see fit. And now if I like where it's placed, I have my cluster. I'm going to literally just take my tape runner down the sides, towards the bottom rather. So all I've done is place glue on the bottom and a little bit on the long one. And then again, I'm looking at where I wanted it. I'm going to place it down, press, and there you go. We have a nice little autumn card. If I wanted to, and I said, wait a minute, I need to put a sentiment. Notice I could just pull it back up real quick before it sets. Move it up and place it again. Now, we have the card with our accent window. I think it covers too much of that, but I mean, you may want to put it a sentiment on here on the front. So let's move it back down. Whatever we want. There we go. Okay, if you felt like you've moved it a little bit too much, you can always go back with some glue dots, grab it on a bone, stick it back there, and re-adhere or re-secure in case you felt like maybe. And then you also want to zhuzh up your leaves. Okay. Alright, so this is the card. And what we can do now is, if we wanted to, we can add a sentiment to the bottom. So I may look at this card and say, you know what, there's not enough burgundy. So I may take the burgundy piece of paper, take my plain old paper trimmer, and I'm going to cut about, I believe it's about 1 inch. So it's really dependent upon your sentiment. Right now I'm not going to stamp a sentiment. You can stamp a sentiment in the class. We'll look at sentiments when we're there. So the sentiments are anything that you might have on hand. I'm going to cut a 1 inch. I have plenty of excess. And then I'm able to put a little piece here. My personal, it doesn't bother me that the leaves are being tucked underneath. So all I want to do is get a length of it that I like. So I was looking at it, I eyeballed it, and now I'm going to create a pennant, a banner. So I'm going to go up the center, and then from each corner go to that center point that I got to. And then we have a nice little fishtail. And so I don't have sentiment on here, but I am going to just attach it with some dimensionals. And where are they? Okay. I probably would go towards another type of brand versus Stampin' Up, because Stampin' Up tends to be very thin, and I want a little more height so that I don't crush too many of the leaves. So I'm just putting another kind of dimensional on here that's a little thicker. So I'm going to take that paper off. And we would stamp our sentiment. We can add a little bit of a curl to that, and then place our sentiment right on the card. And I'm aware that it does cover a little bit of leaf. That again you can adjust if you want. Make this thinner. I'm just giving a bigger sentiment than I thought. So that is the card for the die cut class. And if you wanted to, you could take these two guys. The white one probably not, but the brown one, if you wanted to, you could definitely put another leaf in here if you felt like you wanted to, or if you wanted to put the leaf in here. Use the stuff that you have left over. Nice little accent there, maybe. But then we can cut off that little tip. So it's all up to you. And so I hope you enjoyed this card. I hope that you found using the stamps after you die cut is just as effective and just as beautiful. I hope that you enjoyed making the window and found out how simple that it was to do, and that this card is really simple, basic, and it can be used from a lot of different occasions. So again, this was the session 2 die cuts and punches, card number 2. I appreciate you coming and dropping by again. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends, and hopefully you will come to session number 3, where we will be talking about inking and stencils. So remember, like I always say, crafting is not a spectator sport. We gotta get our hands dirty. Today I have done that dramatically, and I will see you next time. Alright, thanks, bye.